Good morning, friends.
Good morning, everyone. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. I'm excited about this.
Same.
I'm excited about this new year, too.
Yeah. I'm
Coming
ready
into
for it.
it
I'm ready
with
for new. Bring it
same
on.
here. And finding all the positive. Okay, before I'll introduce you in a second,
Yeah.
Laura. We're ready to go this morning,
We
everyone.
are.
Welcome to Coffee Talk. Coffee Talk is brought to you by the International Dance Entrepreneurs Association, also known as IDEA. We are 300 strong, focused on building our businesses, but creating our dream schools. What is it that we want each individually? There's not a one size recipe fits all. We grow together, we learn together, and we'd love to have you join us. You can learn more at ideadance.org.
Yeah.
I'd like to introduce you to my co-host. This is Laura Giacomelli-Huntowski. She's from Pennsylvania. Mom of Cole, dance studio owner. Tell us a little bit more, Laura.
A little bit more. So I've had the studio this is our 12th season. I can't believe it. I feel like it is like a blink of an eye. It's like having, I always say Libra's my first baby. So it's like you blink and now we're 12. It's crazy. I love your opener, Rhee, because I feel like I'm in that point right now with IDEA where I'm trying to figure out where I'm going because I kind of feel like I'm in a good spot with the studio, and it's weird to finally be in a good spot after everything we've all been through, owning a studio, being a mom, pandemic, all that kind of stuff. And it's like interesting trying to be in this stage of my life. It's neat.
I want to say something. This is a theme, and you kind of did a segue into it.
Uh-huh.
I think 2023 is the year to figure out where our sweet spot is.
I love that.
Meaning, am I in a place that is a really profitable place? Am I like living my dream right this second rather than what am I doing next, which could deplete the place I'm in right now because I'm seeking more. Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. I had a quote that I read right before the New Year's, and it's like, I remember the old me couldn't wait for the current spot where I'm at, and I'm wishing it away. And I was just like, oh, Laura, like, take a step back. Like, you used to wish to be where you are right now, and you're just trying to set your next 10-year goals. And I'm like, the entrepreneur in me is like, go, go, go. And then the other part of me is like, take a breath, look around. You grew your
it's
studio. Like, you're when you were 5, this is what you wanted, and you're here. Take a moment, inhale, and see it and be in it. So that's where I'm at. And it's a weird spot because let me check, this is my list for today, and it's highlighted and there's circles and we got to get stuff done person. So it's different being in this space, but that's my goal for this year, to be in this space and be okay with it.
Yes, be okay with it. Spend some time with yourself and discover what it is that you want, not what you see other people creating and doing and building and growing. What do you want as a studio owner, teacher, and go for that, so that this journey that we're on is a journey where I know this is Rhee's cliche, but it's where we enjoy the journey because we found a place that we can balance ourselves in this happy place. I know that sounds strange, but it is.
No, but it's great. If you found your happy place, enjoy it, because and not everyone finds it. That's what I'm realizing. Not everyone finds that happy place where you have whatever your balance is that you want. My balance isn't whatever other person's balance is. Maybe someone else's balance is they want 800 students. That's not my balance. I realized that. I don't want that.
And
So
there's
they
nothing wrong
do.
with wanting that and having that under control. That is your dream. Good for you.
100%.
I want everybody to be satisfied because that dream is different for everybody.
100%.
It's not the size of it, it's how organized is it, how smart are you with it. Is
it working for your personal life too? And financially, just because you have more, that doesn't mean you make more. That means those bills are higher and payroll's higher. We all know that, you know? So it's figuring that balance out too. Too much, it's a lot of balls in the air.
Cheers to cheers to starting off this new year with a bang and some passion. Okay, our special guest today is Gio.
Yep.
Doesn't even need a last name. Everybody knows who he is. Who's also, I think, in the same place we are, you know, making 2023 a new fresh start. So I'm excited to talk to him about that. Before we go to Gio, I'm going to run a commercial for this summer. Rhee Gold Company is running the Dance Life Teacher Conference and Soul, a dancer conference. The dancers, their parents, and teachers. The Soul Dancer Conference has nothing to do with a competition. And it's all about helping kids to build a soul that's confident in themselves and using dance for whatever they choose to do with it, to express themselves, that we're not all striving to be winners. There's college roundtables so parents and dancers can talk about the future and decide whether dance is in their future. There's child psychologists, great classes. We'd love to see you there. Here's a little bit more. And here we are with the man himself. I didn't play that knowing you were all over the video.
I was going to say, that was a whole intro.
Cheers to you, my friend. Happy Monday. Happy
Cheers.
Coffee Talk.
Happy New Year. Yeah, I was getting tired of seeing my face on that video. It's awesome, though. But I'll tell you, like, looking at it, though, like, as I'm watching through it, I'm like, whoa, I'm really smiling. Like, really, like, that was a really great event. The first one, to be part of the first one, and then we just dove in, as like, that's what you did. We dove in, and it turned out really great. So it's great to see those memories flash back.
Did you know why you and I have been together so long, my friend? It's because you are a guy who's willing to dive in. Not everybody is. You're a guy that I can say to, I'm not quite sure how this is going to go, but this is what I'd like to see happen. And somehow, we make it happen.
I think that's being an artist, you just like, that's what you do. You just dive in, you just like trust the process, trust what you learned. And I think if you plan too much, you lose a sense of the creativity, which is what it's really about. So living in that moment, it's like creating choreography, like you're creating in the moment, you're creating so all of that kind of goes hand in hand. So I think it's good to prepare, of course, but at the same time, we got to kind of roll with it,
I have a question. When would you guys first meet?
Ooh.
It's a long time ago. I competed as a dancer at American Dance Spectrum. Rhee Golds.
Oh.
Yes, and so
Yeah.
people may not know it was Spectrum before it was American Dance Awards. So he's talking a really long time ago. I can remember him on stage as well. And then I remember I tell him this. So, it's just I keep repeating the same thing. But remember him with blonde hair, either dancing with Paula Abdul or it was somebody.
It was Cheyenne. It was Cheyenne. Latin artist.
Cheyenne.
Yeah. Bleached white hair.
Yeah. Bleached white, I guess is a better way to say it. But yes, we've known each other a long time, Gio and I.
That's amazing. Amazing.
Appreciate him a lot. Okay, Gio, thank you for being with us today, my friend.
Happy to be here. And hi, Laura. Hi, good to see you.
I'm super excited to be here.
You guys know each other, I'm assuming, yes.
Yeah. So can I tell you my first experience with Gio? He probably doesn't remember this. I opened up Libra in 2011. We went to Groove competition. It had to have been 2014 because this was a couple years of me like building up the competition program and actually having an upper level team to go to compete with. And my girls are at Groove in New Jersey, and Gio's set is setting up. And when I tell you, it was like a professional Broadway production of props coming out onto the stage. I remember it, Gio. It was a production where you had top hats and the kids like came out of them. And I literally, my dad was backstage getting my stuff ready. And I have my prop dad is my dad. There's one. We have one prop dad. And you had like a crew of people back there loading things in and out. And my dad was just like, this is unbelievable. This is like a full production. I'm telling my girls, like, get in the audience and go watch this. This is going to be amazing. Go. So they go like running into the audience to watch. And your stuff, oh my God, the kids coming out of the top hat and like the choreography. I literally was like, who did this? I think
Gio, this is going to give you a big head, my friend.
No. But it is so well deserved. Like it was unbelievable. And I think it was just so amazing for because again, it's all girls at my studio at that point, for the girls to see the boys be just as talented as the girls. To not just have boys on stage because, I'll throw a boy out there, even if they're not at the same level as the girls. No. That boy who was front and center deserved to be front and center, who you had. And those boys on stage who are front line deserve to be front line, not just to get like the boy points. Like, no. They were unbelievable. And I remember the girls came out and they were like, Miss Laura. And I was like, I know. And I went up to you and I was just like, my name's Laura. I'm the owner of Libra Dance Studio. I just have to tell you, that was the most fantastic thing I've ever seen at a dance competition. You were so humble. You were really like looked down and you were like, thank you. I really appreciate that. And I'm like, no.
It was like hell.
Unbelievable.
What it took to put the damn number on was hell, right, Gio?
I was like, thank God we have 5 more before my girls go on. Like, wow.
I don't think I ever did a prop ever again. I'm like, I am done with the prop. Like, forget it. Just stick to dance.
I understand when I was teaching and choreographing, I tried things and think it was a great idea. Then the amount of stress that it took to get that great idea pulled off was not easy.
But I will say, Gio, that inspired my dad because my dad did all of our props and just like benches and tables. So now my dad's like, need a lifeguard stand? I'll build you a lifeguard stand. Need acro boxes? I'll build you a. So it was like, my dad was like pumped.
I think you should jump out of a top hat at the end of your
get them out of storage.
Oh man, it was a journey. Well, thank you though for that.
Yeah, it was fantastic. It was absolutely fantastic. And I'm sure everything since then has been amazing, but that was like my first experience seeing your choreography live on like that type of competitive stage. And I was just like, wow, that's Broadway professional level brought to here with kids.
Thank you. But everyone knows out there too, like that, like you said, the level of stress with that kind of props. And again, the big thing was like, we built this big thing that had a hatch so that when you put the big sheet over the end, the guy, like he disappeared. Like it was just, it was a lot. It was, well, the stress, but again, then to hear that from someone is like, afterwards you're like, okay, it makes it worthwhile, but
Yeah.
doesn't, it's a challenge, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I mean, it was fantastic. Absolutely
Thank you.
fantastic.
Thank
So
you.
well done.
Thank you.
We got so excited about this that I didn't ask our audience where they were from, what's going on. Feel free to either ask us a question, let us know what you're thinking in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. So, Gio, what are you thinking about 2023 on a personal, maybe slightly business level?
So far, I mean, I think it's still like a transitional. I said this the other day. I was talking to someone, but it's transitional. I think we're all still trying to figure out what the, we say, back to normal, coming out of COVID, but it's a really a huge challenge, like figuring out what everyone's normal is.
Mm.
And I think that's the hardest thing. And I think it's just, I'm learning to just not go too far ahead and think too far ahead, is that the world is in such a crazy transition in so many levels, with sicknesses and health, and then with finances and the market, and it's just a lot. So it's just a matter of taking it day by day. And again, I think there's definitely growth, and people are coming back around, and the businesses are growing, and we definitely grew a little more this year. And we were one of those big studios. Listening to you guys talk in the beginning, we were at one point back in 2011, almost 800 students, and now it's to lose 60% of your business.
God.
As we went into a new building right before COVID, and then but now we're slowly coming back. But it's a challenge. It's still a challenge. So it's just taking it day by day. It's all we could do,
Mm.
Did I see your son run by there?
Yeah, Cruz just, he strolled by. He's
Yeah.
home. He only goes to school twice a week. And little Gio's in school 5 days a week in kindergarten now. So now things are
Tell us,
changing in life too,
Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
tell us about your kids for everybody who only knows you as Hip Hop Gio, dude.
Dude. Well, that's another, I guess there's like a challenge in life, is like going from doing my thing for years and being out and traveling, and now having a family is a completely different monster in a sense. It's like, because everybody knows, it's like you have different financial responsibilities, and getting them to school, and food, and I mean, just the cost of everything today is just like, it's crunching everyone. Like, everyone is feeling it, and you're doing everything. We're doing everything we can to get by and keep normalcy, because now we want normal. So, but the same normal that it was years ago is not, because everything's more. So it's a lot of challenges. But the boys are what get me up in the morning for sure. Like, it's my wife usually wakes up a little bit before me. But it's like, if I hit that 8:15 mark, and I'm like, all right, Gio's going to school to get the bus at 8:40 on the corner. I'm like, I want to see him. So that
Mhm.
gets me up out of bed. And so I can at least see him for a little bit before he leaves for his day, because then afterwards I go to the studio.
Right.
So it's a crossover, and now it's, having them every day. That's why COVID was also a blessing in disguise, in a sense. I got a lot of time with them, and I'll never forget that. I'll cherish those couple years of being with them a lot. So I value that,
Mhm. I feel like that's a big it's like a blessing and a curse in our as a parent in this industry, that like I can, like, right now I have a 2-year-old, I have Cole, and he's obviously at home with me. There's no reason for him to go to daycare. I'm lucky I have an alumni that I can pull from, once or twice a week, and I get my admin stuff done. But he's with me all the time. But it gets to that point where when he gets to kindergarten and they're at school all day, and then, like you said, you're like ships in the night a little bit. He's getting off the bus, you're going into the studio, or you're already there. And
hmm
that's, I think, going to be a big transition time too,
Yeah,
that's like the hard part of it for sure.
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
So you're all the time. I mean, on social media, it looks like you're out every single weekend of your life. And I know there's a lot of joy in that. and it's how you keep your family and roof and everything. How long you been traveling, and how do you feel about all this on the road stuff, coming from a man who's been on the road for 40 years?
It's been, I mean, for me, it's 32 years now. Because I started 18, 19. I started the little convention circuit and judging. And I love it. I absolutely love it. I think that we've talked about this before, is I have that balance. I have the studio, but then I also have that life of the convention life where I get to go into these, big ballrooms with these hungry, talented kids, or just kids that are there for the weekend having fun. You get a lot of personalities and a lot of different experiences. And, the people kind of look at you at convention, you're like the teacher, oh my God, you feel that. And it's cool. But at the same time, you're like, um, it's not that big a deal for us because we've been done it so long. It's just my purpose every time I get up on stage at convention is I'm super nervous, so that lets me know I still really care about what I'm doing on the road. I always want to give a good class. I always want the kids to come out of the class feeling they've learned something. I've learned to become a better teacher, not make the class about me on that stage and look at me do this. It's about, what is my material getting across? How can I impact these kids in just an hour, which barely is an hour? It goes so fast, and leave an impression on them. And that's my goal. And that's why I think I love the road. And then the studio is different because it's the monotony of every day. And how do you keep that excitement? How do you keep that fresh feeling like you get when you get on a plane and go into a nice hotel and, being on the road? So for me, it creates a good balance. I have the best of both. And I truly love it. If I had to, it's hard to say if I love that more than the studio, but there's been so many challenges with the studio that it's made it difficult to keep that passion. But going back to my sons now, seeing them like the studio and love going there and like to dance, that gives me a new motivation to make the studio a success and have it there for them growing up. And then also to say, hey, daddy can go to work, but you can come hang out with me at work. That's a blessing as well. If I was in the corporate world and went 9 to 5 or 9 to 7, I'm not seeing them at all. So being 5 minutes away with the studio, I'm trying to find the positives in everything in 23 and not focus on the negatives. Because, if we turn on the TV, all you see is negative.
Yep.
And it's like, you're trying to find this balance again, where what are the things that I have in my life that could really be positive and work towards making those things greater.
Ooh. Go ahead, Laura. Did you?
I actually had a kind of a different question that kind of popped into my head when you're talking about teaching. You're saying about how different it is now. I would love to hear how you feel teaching now after I still teach. I've been teaching for 19 years. I have my studio for 12. I still teach accompany dancers. And I teach all the way down to the littles. I'm there 3 times a week teaching at my studio. But I'm sure we all have, who are people who are in the studio, have seen this change in the kids. And I literally had to have this conversation with my dancers after Twitch passed. And I said to them, I sat them all down because I feel like we need to have a conversation about it. And I just said, I know he was such a light and he was so bright, and this is your safe space. So if you ever need to have a conversation with anyone, whether it's me, whether it's a therapist, whether it's your other teachers, have that conversation. And they were so responsive to it. They broke out in tears. Some of the ones that were so happy in class just broke down in tears. And I was just like, wow, ones that I thought were okay were obviously not okay. And ones who I thought were on the edge handled that really well. This is a very interesting dynamic in this room right now. So I would love to hear, since you're hitting all of these different arenas, whether it's a ballroom floor, whether it's a studio, whether, choreographing I saw for like a halftime show. You're dealing with all these different types of individuals and kids. What is some feedback or things that you've done in your studio that has helped navigate these new waters that these dance teachers are in right now?
Oh, that's a big question.
Yeah.
It's hard to speak for the staff, because again, I'm not spending that time in the room with them, and I'm not in their heads. But I'll speak for myself first. It's definitely a challenge, and I think the biggest thing that, without rambling on, the biggest thing that I've tried to focus on is I felt like for a while there was a lot of excuses. Well, we had it was like COVID was the big excuse, and I understand. Obviously we went through this time; it was unprecedented. But I had a conversation with my boys' class the other night, for instance, and there was a kid that I just put in the group this week, and he's coming in, and he's not as talented, but he has all this drive, and I've noticed him in other classes. He was a kid that was in the studio years ago and came back, and he came in class, and it was after the Christmas break, and he knew all the choreo. He knew it all. And the other boys that have been there for years and years and years is standing there like not knowing a thing. So that kind of struck a chord with me, and I gave them a little speech about, that. And then all of a sudden we're going into some exercises, and it's like, all right, give me more performance here. And they're like, not really performing. And it's like, I go back to the excuses, and everybody say, oh, the kids had to wear a mask for so long, right? They forgot how to be expressive. I say, okay, wait, we're artists here. Expression is through dance. And I get a point of, all right, we got to smile. But if you know the Jabberwockies, right? Do you know the Jabberwockies?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and they wear those white masks. And I use this as an example. This summer when I was over in Vegas, and I took my sons to see the Jabberwockies, and I have Gio on my lap, and I have my camera out, and he's giggling and laughing and all this stuff. And these guys are wearing full masks. How is it that a dancer with a full mask on, where you can barely even see their eyes, can make a young child giggle and laugh and spark emotion?
Ooh.
So it's like, you talk about a half a mask, like, so again, we could use that to a degree, but that's an excuse. Like, let's get back to it. Like, it's like, I feel like if we just keep using the excuses, that we're only hindering that generation that's feeling stuff, and they're hurting. They are, like, they've been through a time, especially everyone says, oh, the 13, the 14, the 15. But I'm just trying to now keep it real with them and say, listen, we can make excuses all day long, but it's not going to fix anything. We have to start to move on. Let's move forward. Let's push. Let's go. Let's get back to work. And I think that's the approach that I'm taking, is just trying to get back to it, and not, again, be like, oh, it's okay. We're in that generation, right? We discipline. It's okay. Everything's okay. Don't worry. Where we grew up, and everyone talks, oh, it was so different when we grew up. It doesn't have to be. Like, it's just all in the way that yes, we're in different times, but I think for me, I want to stop making excuses, and I think we need to start to help these kids more by pushing them a little bit on, and doing it reasonably and responsibly, of course, but no more excuses, no more excuses.
I remember when we were able to take our masks off, and I had some in my studio who were immunocompromised, so they were still wearing a mask, and we were drilling routines, faces, perform. And I remember this little one, she had a mask on, but her eyebrows, she was performing so much. I said, your eyebrows are touching your hairline. You're performing so much. And I do this thing to get them motivated. Make me want to look at you. And I'm going to point out who my person was who like caught my eye when they're doing their routine. And she kept doing it over and over again. And the girls were like, Miss Laura, but she has a mask on. I'm like, exactly. So she's at a disadvantage, and she's still catching my eye when she's dancing. She's still giving me all this expression. I said, I see her cheeks popping up above her mask. She's smiling so big underneath that. I said, and I know when her family feels comfortable for her to take that off, and which she is now, it's like she never lost that. She always understood that at some point that mask is going to come off. I'm going to have to dance. I'm going to have to get on a stage and perform next to the girls and be able to practice without that. But yeah, it's interesting. I feel like pushing forward a little bit is what they need for sure. But it's interesting. It takes them, at least my girls, it's been taking them a little bit longer to like turn that entertainment value back on. It's like a muscle. I said to my one soloist, it's like a muscle memory. I should be able to turn the music on and your face should smile. Just like your
It's
feet should move to the dance, you know? It's a whole, it's your whole body. Everything should be working together.
it's it, I'm going to say something about. I agree with Gio. The excuses are. I get it, and I'm there to emotionally support anybody. But if you truly love dance, and I know this is hard for kids, it comes out because you're feeling the joy, and you could see it in the eyes with the mask on. Okay, just like you said, Jabberwockies, your kid could feel it. Your son. It's a joy, and I'm not sure these kids know what that feels like. I'm not saying they won't. I'm saying the last 2 or 3 years has pushed that deeper down. Ooh, I couldn't think of a better way to say it, but I think it's not only kids. There are a lot of adults who don't feel the joy. Forget dance. It's a society kind of thing. Boy, I took us deep here. But to me, if we have the ability as teachers to distract them and get them to feel the joy for the 1 hour, that's greatness in a teacher.
And I think to be in the moment, I think what I'm seeing, it's hard for them to, I think we were just talking about that even before we started the broadcast, is being in the moment. I think the kids kind of, because they're like this all the time and they're on their phones and they're Snapchatting and they're TikToking and they're doing all of that. I think dance makes you be in the moment. And I think they haven't been doing that very often with the pandemic and coming out of it, like feeling their bodies, being in the space, being in the moment and performing. I think that's
okay. I think that was a good point. Being in the moment, is that something this generation can't do?
Yeah.
There's a lot of challenges. COVID, technology. It's, like when you look back at movies, right? And it was movies about the future, and it's like everything became very robotic. Exactly, like everything's becoming robots. Like you go to the grocery store, you check out, I'm talking to a machine. I go to the airport, I don't even need to talk to the machine. I'll talk to my phone before and go, everything is, you see, when you really think about the social interaction and everything that we're doing, it's changing. And it's creating a different vibe. And it's like, I don't know if we even have the power to control it, because it's just happening so fast,
We do if we want to. Meaning, I recently had dinner at somebody's house. I'm being careful at how I say this, with a young child. That child laid on the floor and played games the entire time while we ate dinner, while we talked. And I thought to myself, wouldn't this have been a good time to say, shut that thing off?
Yeah.
But that's easier for the parent, I think, than to involve the child, to maybe have the child act up at the table, whatever it is. It's easier to let them be on that thingy.
Or engage them, like something that my wife and I do consciously. This is what we do. Like if we're to have an opportunity to sit down to 4 of us, and they want, like they'll have, want their iPads, and it's like, put them down, like take them off the table, say, all right, we're not going to do iPads. Like, but now you can't just sit there and be like, hey, what's up? You got to be like, so we say, what was the best part of your day?
Yeah.
you know. So then Gio will go, oh, the favorite part of my day was this. And then all of a sudden, like they're, you know, it's just a matter of, do we know how to engage them? Or it's not just a matter of putting it down, because they want to do something, you know, they want to. So it's like, you have to, again, we have the power to control it to a degree. But it's just making that conscious effort, and definitely see a shift in the kids, and it's going to be work to change it and make it better. But it's going to be a continual challenge for all of us, in the classroom, out of the classroom, in our homes. It's without a doubt. But you know, you have to. And someone wrote that we can do that in class
Yes. 100%.
too. You know, like you say what's up, instead of going right to warm up, look at them and say, hey, like I did it last week. Was I looked at my classes like, welcome back. How did Santa treat you? You know, and they smile. Like, did you get everything you wanted? You know, like just have conversations.
Yeah.
You know, it's important, but it's finding the right things to say and the right questions. And because again, we're teachers, so we can automatically go to, you got to fix this, and you got to fix this, and you got to do this, and you got to pull up, and you got to lift your chin, and you got to da. Sometimes you just got to have a normal conversation with them, and it changes the aspect and the flow of class.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, when my little ones do sit-ups in my mini jazz class, I don't do abs with them. I make them, I pair them up. And I literally, even now, I say, introduce yourself. Hi, my name is, and even if they know the person, they still have to say, hi, my name is such and such. And they shake hands, and I say, now tell them your favorite ice cream flavor. Tell them, like, and then I go up to them after they're done their sit-ups. I'm like, what is her name and what is her favorite flavor? Because they're so quick to, I'm like, no, like we're continuing this conversation. How you like, and I think we do have time in class to do that, as long as we find creative ways to stick it in, like how you're saying, you know, and find time to do it. We can, for sure.
I brought up this really cool comment from Katie McGee because I wanted to point something out to you and maybe the teachers who are watching here. You may not see this right away, Gio, but this is like patting you on the back again. I'm 36 and love having Gio at headliners every year growing up. My daughter now dances. I hope she can take your class someday. You definitely made an impact in the dance world. So what do I want to say to you? This is generational. When you have a student who desires that their child has the same experience, that means you did really good, my friend. Okay.
Thank you. It's I've been on the road the last year too. I get, you know, someone come up to me, a mom, and say, you know, look at me and go, you know, I took your class like 15 years ago, 20 years ago at Tremaine or Headliners, and now you know, will you take a picture with my daughter? I'm so happy she like took class with you. And it's like, wow. it's a wow. It's a wow. When you realize, I don't even realize sometimes. I just keep pushing on, and because I love it. Like, that's why I say I love being on the road in the studio. You just love it. And to hear those things, it really affects you, and it in a good way. You know, and then at the same time, it's like you feel a responsibility. And that's where it's hard. And I think going back to, you mentioned Twitch a little bit. I've taught a lot with Twitch on the road, and he was I like to say a good friend. It was this was a really difficult thing to swallow.
I want to put this question up. I didn't put it forward because I didn't know if we were going there, but this question came through.
Yeah, I'll tell you, it's the morning of, over the last few months, I started receiving boxes of clothes from Dick's Sporting Goods. One of Twitch's PR people wrote me on Instagram and said, hey, Twitch and Allison want to send you some stuff. And I said, okay, you know, I figured, you know, I have a studio, I'm exposed to a lot of kids, I'm on the road on the weekends. So I seem like that perfect guy to throw these clothes on and do some posts. It makes sense. So but really appreciative, and text them and said, you know, thank you so much. I love the clothes. And then a few weeks ago, 2 big boxes came full of all this new stuff again. And I'm like loving everything, and I'm trying it on, and I'm trying to do social media posts where I jump up and down and pop into the clothes, and I'm not really good at that. So I guess now my wife is, seeing that, what's the engagement of, I guess, with him and Allison. And then all of a sudden, the morning of, she runs upstairs, and I hear her coming up the stairs. And not that it made it any better, but it felt like someone in my family, something happened, something really bad, with the look on her face. And she showed me the phone, and I was just like, I was like, no, that's not true. This can't be.
Yeah.
And from there, it was very, as soon as I turned on my phone, it was just like the messages started coming through. Very difficult, very, very, like, for that first while, for the first part of it, you don't believe it. This can't be true. And obviously people around the world felt it. People around the world, celebrities, and it's this. I don't think he knew the impact he had on the amount of people that he had an impact on. But again, wearing that face and that happy face, and it's like you would never imagine that this was going on. And it's then people talk about. I spoke to my best friend. One of my best friends in the world is Marty Dew. If you're in the dance world, Marty taught on Tremaine for 13, 14, maybe 20 years after I was on the Tremaine circuit. He kind of was on there, and now it's Tony Bellissimo. And Tony Bellissimo is a great friend at Twitch, very close. And he had spoken to him, and we talked about people reaching out, and there are friends that did reach out to Twitch that said, hey, I know you're going through some things. And I think at some point when you hit that point, it's almost like people have made that decision in a sense, which is scary. And it's and I think something that people haven't talked about, or I haven't heard about, is, we got to be careful what we wish for, right? The big studio, millions of followers. When you have more, now you have more responsibility, just like anything else. And for someone like Twitch to wake up every day and have 4.4 million followers, do you let that just go by, or no? Like, I'm sure every day you wake up, you feel like you have a responsibility. Hey, Allison, when are we going to make a video? And you have a 3-year-old running around and a 6-year-old, and you're like, you just don't make a video. You got to come up with a song, choreograph it, get together, rehearse it, film it, practice it. And when I'm trying to work and do things and my kids are around, like, that's a guilt. I feel like, I got to give them that time, so you're struggling with the guilt of family. Because me and Twitch have talked about, like, in the past, like, how important being a dad was to both of us someday. And now I know that's what he probably desired more than anything. Having a big part of your life ripped away immediately. You're on one of the biggest, with one of the biggest stars in the world, with Ellen, and you're her sidekick every day. And not only is that, it wasn't even about probably the celebrity for him. It was, he loved his job. You saw the joy. You saw his joy when he was on that stage, or with her, or her giving him a gift and saying, this is going to end. And the emotion that poured out of him, like, what do I, you're going to feel an emptiness. There's a lot there that I see that maybe just the ordinary person doesn't see. Where they're like, it doesn't make sense. And then I'm like, no, it kind of does make sense. It really does, to a degree. Because I've never fathomed the idea of that, as depressed as we can get. And I went on my Facebook group the other day, and I had kind of gone dark for a couple months. It was, at points, I just feel completely overwhelmed. Choreo for the studio every day, the business, family, getting on a plane, financial stress, the future. All of a sudden it just washes over you, and you're like, then I'm just like, I don't know if I want to do anything. And then all of a sudden it's like I procrastinate and shut down. I go through it, it's, and I've gone through it the last few months. I'm trying to be honest with that, but also talk about it. and communicate it. And I think that's the key, is like, we got to talk about it. We got to let it out.
Yeah.
I want you to say, I want you to know what you just said, I can relate to, where it becomes so overwhelming that everything shuts off.
Yeah.
And I want our listeners to think about that, because I think it happens more times to more people than people are willing to admit.
Yeah.
I relate to it 100%, and everybody who's watching this broadcast and say, oh, that guy has so much going on. The going on is a responsibility, a consistent responsibility to keep up with. Yeah. My mother used to say to me, and when I sold American Dance Awards, I realized that she was right. So she told me this when I was a kid. I think I was like 41, 42 when I sold American Dance Awards. She goes, Rhee, watch it. Your biggest dream could turn into your worst nightmare. Ooh. And wait, I was pissed off when she said it to me, because I found it to be discouraging. Okay. Ooh. But many years later, I can remember saying, wow, she was right. What it is, not what it was at the time, what it is today is what she was talking about. Mm-hmm. And that's a point that's always stuck with me. It's great that we came here. And can I say this? I was going to stay off the Twitch topic because I thought it was going to maybe down this broadcast. Your words were perfect, Gio.
Yes, 100%. 100%.
Thank you. Thank
Gio,
you.
and I hope you know, I'm not someone who knows Twitch. I know the social media, the performance, the entertainer aspect of it. I never had the pleasure of meeting him personally. But as someone who is where I am with him, I found out on the radio as I was driving, and it took my breath away. And I had to pull over. I had my son in the car, and I just filled up with tears. I thought to myself, oh my gosh, the dance world lost such an incredible person. And I had the girls that happened, I believe it was a Tuesday or a Wednesday when we found out, and I only teach my senior girls on Monday. And I waited until Monday night, and I sat them all down, and the last time I sat them down, I was pregnant. So they're all like, oh God, here we go. She's pregnant. That's why she's talking to us. And I'm like, no, we're not, the studio is okay. I'm not pregnant. I was like, but we need to have like a serious conversation. And the girls left the studio, and the moms emailed me in like waves. Thank you so much for talking about this. You know, you don't realize, no, the girls have never met him, but they follow him on social media. They see his positivity. They never realize what's going on behind the curtains. And that just because you put on this happy face doesn't mean everything's perfect in your life. And this was such a shock to them. And I just said to them, like, you know, you all think that everyone around you is so strong. Like, I always get told, you're a very strong person. I'm like, I talked to a therapist. There's nothing wrong with that. And the girls were like, you do? And I was like, girls, yeah. And like, especially after the pandemic, I'm like, saving my business, being pregnant. Like, there was so much going on. There's nothing wrong with that. And I think having that open conversation and understanding that people in your life who you put on a pedestal, whether you know them or you don't, it's okay to go and seek help when you need it, you know, and it's okay. And I'm not saying that he did or didn't. I have no idea, obviously. But I think that it truly affected our dancers and the dance world in
thousands of people. And honestly, I've been on social media since 2007, one of the original Facebook people. All the years, all the losses, I never saw anything like the reaction to Twitch. It crossed every line, crossed every sector. Yes. You have to understand, and I think it influenced me in saying, please discover what it is you want, which is what we started this broadcast off. but people look and they would look at him, and I only saw happiness.
Yeah.
And so if you were like, someday I'd like to be like on a show like Ellen and be what he's doing, or someday I want to do what Twitch is doing here or there. How shocking is it that that's your dream, that's your goal, that's what you're looking at and seeing how happy he is, and realizing he's not.
Yeah.
Like, that's what hit me. Like, you put a microphone in front of my face, no matter what's going on, I'm going to smile and give you everything I got. But when there's no microphone in front of your face and you're the real you, it could be a totally different story. And we all have to realize that, not only about other people, but about ourselves, and that that's okay. You have to nurture that other side.
It's telling, right? Because it's in my understanding, or when I think about it or talk about it, it's like, they say suicide is one of the most selfish things, right? And but then you have to really like say, okay, everything in life happens for a reason, or Twitch was on this earth for a reason. And his reasoning maybe right now is that if you don't find enough balance in being selfish, then it gets to that degree. So we give and give and give and give, and Twitch was giving all the time. And if this is the most selfish thing he's ever done, and that was for him, and I go back to one of my greatest memories. One of my greatest memories, like of Twitch, is we were teaching together on a little tour, and we were at Applebee's together. I was sitting across from him, and we're going to order dinner, and he gets dessert, this huge dessert, and I put this in my social media post, and I was like, yeah, what dessert? Like, he has a giant sundae. He's like, I eat dessert before I eat my dinner. And I'm like, okay. And I don't know if he still did that over the years. But that's like one of the greatest memories of him. And I think it struck me when he passed, because he didn't care. And that was for him. That's one of those little things that made him happy, or what he wanted. And he wasn't doing for anyone else on the stage. And this is like, right after his So You Think You Can Dance success. Like, this is a middle phase, nowhere near where he was now. And so it's like the message here needs to be, and why he's impacted so many people, is that like you have to, and celebrities. And I think it struck a chord with a lot of celebrities, because you got to find some time to like always not give and feel like you're on, and you have to find the off time. And then you go back to COVID, and it's like, yeah, we had a lot of off time. And then I know I've said it a lot. Oh, you hear it. I miss COVID. Why did we miss COVID? Because it was like, we didn't always have to be on every day. We found the downtime. But now we have to get back to it, and we can't make excuses, but we need, the biggest word for me is balance. We have to find balance, all of us, to stay sane, to stay happy, and make sure that we're giving to others, but also giving to ourselves.
Balance is a big one. And I think finding the boundaries within those balances too, what you're okay with, what you're not okay with, being okay with saying no to certain things, not having to be at every single place at every single minute. I feel like you're saying, when we were revving up to get back from COVID, I felt like I just had to man my ship at all times and return every email within 2 hours. And there was no 24-hour buffer anymore. It was just constantly on. And then you get burned out.
Yeah.
You get burned out. Yeah. And I literally, because of that, I found a company director. I was like, I can't do all of this anymore. And I put people in charge and get some balance in there and put up some boundaries. And I feel like that's helped me. But I feel like finding that balance and the boundaries is really important. And if I think for our listeners, is that something that you can aim for this year, do it. Because now's the time to do it. We're all getting back to normal. What do you want your normal to be?
I think, and being a studio owner, it's like, I think probably we all feel the same way. It's like, we always feel like you're always worried about your clients, always worried about your clients. Not even the kids. I think we worry more about, what everyone's going to think, what are the parents going to think, And it's like, I think if you want a place and you want a home, which is your home, is your second home, is if you want to find that balance, is you'll find the people that have balance in their own lives. Those are the people you want to surround yourselves by. And if, you do what you can in your power and you do what you can. And I said this the other day in that little message, I was like, I'm going to do what I can and not put so much pressure on myself all the time, and it's like, if it's good enough for you, if it's good enough for me, it needs to be good enough for you. And if it's not, then there's another place for you. And that's Rhee said that for years and years and years and years.
Okay, you didn't have to add that last year.
But you have. He's right. And I feel like that comes from like that confidence within, knowing that.
You're afraid of loss. Like we're afraid we're going to lose. And it's like, but again, he said for years and years and years and years, for everyone you lose, you're going to get two more are going to walk in the door.
That is the truth. And sometimes even I need to tell that to myself, because I can be in the place of the people who are saying that to me.
Absolutely.
But I have to say this because I just think it's really funny. When we started today, I said, I think I'm going to go a little shorter with the program today, make a big impact and short, less is more. I'm telling you, that one of the best ones so far and one of the longest ones so far. I appreciate so much. This is how I want to say it. I want the dance community to be real. I don't want it to be everything is terrific. And yes, I want us to live our dream. But in order to live your dream, you have to know that you're not alone out there in all the struggles, that you're not alone out there in dealing with the issues that come with being either a studio owner or a small business owner. And that today's show felt really real. And that's a compliment to both of you. And I'm going to close out, but Gio, you want to give us some kind of final words of wisdom? Because I'm putting the hook out in 2 minutes. Go ahead, friend.
All right. I'm first of all, I'm just loving the microphone. I'm a little jealous. I might have to need an Amazon link or something because that thing is cool. I'm digging it. I just love the LEDs. I'm trying to get more LEDs in the studio because it's cool. Just find the positives. Again, I've been teaching this in the classroom is finding, telling it to the kids, especially the teens in the senior room. It's like, find balance, find balance in your life. We all have to find balance. Try to shut off from technology once in a while, put it down, take moments to be in the moment. All the things that we've talked about right now. And it's, again, everything doesn't need to be so sad. We need to celebrate. And that's what I think people are doing. We're celebrating Twitch's life and what he stood for. And I think he was here on this earth for many reasons, and he made his impact.
To teach us. He just taught us one hell of a lesson, I believe.
Yep, he did. And sometimes that's why people are here, and we have to, that's what we have to know, and we don't have to understand it. It's not necessary. Understanding what happened is not going to make it any better. We're going to feel the emotion. We're going to feel the happiness and what he gave, and we're also going to feel the sadness and the loss. So there's balance. Find the happiness, but there's sadness, and there's going to be balance in everything. And I think when you find balance, what does balance do? Balance evens you out. And I think we need to even ourselves out. We need to even the playing field. And that's what's happening on the NFL field, right? We almost lost this young man, this athlete, and no one could understand why. And now athletes are coming together in solidarity and in team. Like everything that's happening in the world is happening for a reason. And it's finding balance. And it's important. So we all need to find it in our lives. I wish you health and happiness. I can't wait for this year. And I'm just excited. I'm trying to be motivated. I'm trying to build new things. And build back old things, and it's just why you have to wake up every day and push and take time for yourself as well.
I believe in you 100%, Gio. Thank you, Laura.
And Gio, thank you for sharing from the perspective of someone who didn't know Twitch. Thank you for sharing what you shared about him, because I know people who did not know him, weren't blessed to know him, appreciate it as well. So thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely. Thank you. And again, he touched, everyone feels the way they feel because that's the way he made everybody feel, whether you knew him for a moment or you saw him on TV or you sat down and had dinner with him. He made everyone feel that way. And I feel very lucky to have, you know, he was part of my life, and it's all of our lives, and we just need to learn from what he was here for. And I think that's the best part of it, you know.
Yeah.
It's going to be like the Academy Awards in a second. They're going to start playing music.
Have
Have a great day, everybody. Thank you. And we'll see you again in a couple weeks.
Yeah. Bye, everyone.
Peace out.